Hello folks, today we are going to discuss about response validations. So for this response validation I have used the petstoreswagger.io. So if you go to this URL https petstoreswagger.io v2swagger.json. So this is the main URL in which where you will landing. So you will get this URL, and when you come down, so there are lots of module. Pet module is there, store module is there, user module is there. So for API testing we can use this. So I have used the user module to fetch and to validate the responses. So let me come to the Postman and I will tell you. So here in user collection I have already created user collection, and for this add user is there. So add user we are having post request. For fetch user there is get request. For update we are having put request, and for delete we are having delete request. So I will illustrate you one by one each. I will talk you about in more detail how to use snippets. There are lots of snippets on the right hand side. How to use status code, response body, how to validate the response body JSON value check is equal to a string, how we have to set the environment variable, how to we have to get the from environment variable, how to automate the things that is required in the URL. So I will illustrate you all the things in this video. So let's talk further. So let me open uh, Word. So in this response validation, what I will be talking about, how to validate the status code, how to validate the status code text, response time, headers, set an environment variable. So in this we will be using environment variable, how to we have to set and how we have to get. Now I will be talking about global variable, how we have to set and get the global variable as well. Now the most important thing, the response body, how we have to get the response body and how we have to validate each and every response. And finally we will clearing the environment variable. So let's proceed further. How the syntax for response validation is like pm dot function name, test name, function assertions. So I will tell you what is pm. In this function name what we have to write, why this is test name, why this is function. So I will tell you in this at this place why we have to write assertions. I will tell you. So let me open the notepad. So here, first of all, in assertions, we are doing validations, and how we have to do the validation with the use of PM. So PM is a library. PM means Postman. It is a library, and in PM we have to call functions. On the PM object we have to call the functions, and functions is in JavaScript. So the functions will be in the JavaScript notation. So let me talk here. So PM, so this is the library. On the object of Postman we are calling the function name, function. So we can use the test here, the function name. Function starts from here and ending here, and in between we are using assertions. And then this fun this function starting from here and closing from here. So the whole syntax for this one is pm dot function name, and the user defined uh, variable username text you can say, and this is the function. And in in that function we are using the assertions and just closing the function. So let me talk about how we have to validate the status code. So let me flip to the Postman. So let's say create user. So for this, I am using this type of body. So username is Prince1203, first name Prince, last name Kumar, email this one, password is this one. So when I will send the request, you see 200 okay is there. Now I want to use some validations over there. So in post, so for validating the response, we have to come to the script section. So there are lots of section is there: overview, params, authorization, headers, body, scripts, settings. So come to scripts, and here after post response, when we send the request by clicking through this button, so response body is generated, code type message, and from here is post response. What we have to do, let's say I want to check for, let's say, status code. So where, so this is the snippets. So this is the snippets. We don't have to require to memorize all the code in the Postman for this API testing. So just use snippets over there. Lots of snippets is there. I will tell you each and everything snippets how we have to use. And let's say I am using status code is 200. So if we have to validate this status code right now is 200. So if we want to validate this status code, then we will be clicking here status code is 200. So just click here. So the automatic the code will be generated. So here it is saying PM. So again, PM is a Postman object. It is a library in which we are calling the function test is a function here, and this is the user defined text. You can write anything over here, but make sure that you have to write uh, required things. That is, when we read, we will get the things very easily. So let's say here it is saying status code is 200. Okay, we are validating for 200. So this text is okay. Now this function, so function is starting from this here, and curly braces open, and in that we are using assertions. So this is the assertions we are using to validate the status code. So on this again, PM, so Postman dot response. So response, so this, when we click on the send request, we will be getting the response. So on the response, we do have status 200. If it is okay, then the test result will be okay. So you just send this one. So 200 okay. Test result, go to the test result. It is saying passed. Status code is 200 passed. Now just pause the video, and if we want to, let's say, validate for okay. So what snippets you will be using? Just pause the video and just think about it. Okay, let me tell you. So if you want to validate this okay, so here it is saying status code. So status code name has a string. So already it is saying status code. So this is the status code, and code name has a string. So code name has a string. Okay, so we will be clicking here, and here it is saying pm dot test again. On the Postman object, we are calling the method test. Status code name has a string, and here in that assertions, pm dot response dot to have dot status. Here we will be writing okay, not created, because here it is okay. That's why we are writing here okay. So where just save this and send the request. So you will see that two test result is passed. One is status code is 200, the first one, and the second one is status code name has a string. So let me talk you one more. So how you have to, let's say if 200 or 201 is there, so sometimes 200 is there, and when we post, when we are using the post method, sometimes it is saying, sometimes it is coming 201. So it depends on the developer how they have developed. So let me talk about this thing also. So here, so this one. So pm dot test successful post request function, and again pm. So the snippets we will be using status code successful post request, and in this post request we are validating either of the 201 or 202. So if we will execute this code, we will be getting failed because either 201 nor 202 is there. So here status code is 200. So if we have to execute this, it is failed, successful post request assertion error. So this is the assertion error in which we are saying expected 200. So expected here 200 to be one of 201 and 202. So among this it should be expected 200. So let's see 201, and we are using 200. Now send, so it will be successfully passed. So successful post request. Again here on the postman object we are using test method. So this is the user defined text successful post request. This is the function, starting function, curly braces open and curly braces closed here, and in between we are using assertions postman dot expect, what we expect from the postman dot response dot code. So this one to be one of 201 and 202. So among this list we are having doing assertions to either it is 201 or 200. So if it is 200 then it will be okay, if it will be 201 then it will be okay. So successfully it will be passed. Now move on. So let's say we are using, so we have already done a status code name has a string. So this one status code successful post request we are also done. Now we are going to response time less than 200 milliseconds, but here you can see 345 milliseconds. But if you will write here 400, let's say response time is less than 400, and in expect pm postman dot response time to be below of, let's say, 400. So here it is the text which we want to just highlight, and here the value which we want to validate. So just save and send the request. So it is passed 1.252 second, and sorry, it is failed. So let me increase some, let's say 800, and here 800. Now save this. Now send again. So it is passed now. Response time is less than 800 milliseconds. So it depends on the code that we have written. So every time when the code will be getter complex, the time it will be taking. So you have to do it checking here manually and just put the value here. Now let's move to the another concept. Or is this thing done? Now if we want to check the headers, so in headers there are key, one side there is key and another side is value. So let's say we want to validate in headers, we are having lots of uh, lots of key and value. Let's say content type. So content type is key, and here application slash JSON is the value. So first of all, we will validate this content type, and then we will also validate this value of content type. So let me explain this concept here. So just click on this response header, content type header check. Just click on this. So content type is present. It is saying content type is present. Again function, again pm dot response dot to have header. So in headers we are using header content type. Either it is, we have to write in the same way that is, it is written like content, c should be caps and t should be caps. So in that way you have to write, and just save this and send the request. You see, I think the response time is not in the 8 milliseconds. Here you see failed. The response time is less than 800 milliseconds. So let me comment this one because it will create problem in the long run when the code will be getting more complex. So it will take more time to execute. So every time it will fail. So now let me execute this. So content type is present. Now if we want to check for content type value, so don't worry, I will be sharing this whole doc to you, where status code text is there, response time we are validating here. So headers, how we have to content type is present. This is for key, and this is for value. How we have to use this. So I will tell you. I will share this doc to you in the you in this videos as well. Okay, let me go over there. So if we want to check for value, how will we writing? Control C and just paste below. And in content type, what you want to validate? So in after comma, just use curly double quotes and go to headers. Just copy this one, application slash JSON, and paste it here. Excuse me. Yeah. Now save this and send the request. Earlier it was 4, now it is 5. So you go there, content type is present. So content type is present. Here we will be writing content type value is present. Control is, now send again. So content type value is present. So this thing also done. Now let's move on. So let's say we have just created this request. So in body, it is coming code 200, type is unknown, and message is okay. So if we want to validate this message key, and if we want to validate this okay, then how we will be writing? So let's say here response body is there. So response body, just click on this contains a string. So if you want to validate any string like code, type, message, okay, unknown, so any value, if you want to just search into this response body, so then we will be using response body contains a string. So body matches a string. uh, Body matches string. So in expect pm response dot text to include what you want to include. I just want to check for message is okay or not. Body matches string, let's say message. and we are writing okay. Just control s, save, and send the request. So test case test result is 6. Body matches string message. So message, and in include we are using okay. So this test also get passed. Now if we want to check for, let's say, body, if we want to check for this message either it is okay or not, so how we will be checking? So this is json value check. Click on this. Now this is postman. So on the postman object we are calling the method test, your test name what you want to validate. So this is the function, and pm means again postman dot response dot json, and in this whole statement we are taking into one variable. This is called json data. So this is var. So in javascript we are writing using var keyword, and this is json data, this is the variable. And on this uh, and on this variable we are using, let's say, message. Json data dot message to equal what, let's say, okay. Okay. So in this what we are doing, on the postman object we are calling this method test. So we are checking message is okay or not. Message is okay. So again function, and from pm dot response dot json. So again response from JSON, we are taking into one variable JSON data, and from expect is the method on the postman object. JSON data again we are using message, so we have to just come over here message and to equal. So what message is equal to okay, so we are passing okay here. Now save this and send the request. So test case result 7 out of 7. Message is okay. So it also got passed. Now let's continue further. So we are going to validate response body is equal to a string. So in the response body, this is one is the only left. So body is correct. Now what I want in the post request, let's say body is correct function pm response to. If you want to write here pm dot response dot json. So json is a method, so you have to write like this. So what I have written, so pm postman object, on the object of postman we are calling the method test method, and body is correct. So this body, if the response came, then this body we are validating, and again we are using function, and here the validation is assertion pm dot response dot to have body. So on the response we are having body, on in body what we are going to get pm dot response dot json. Now click this, it should validate and it should pass. So test result 8 out of 8. Now it is passed but is correct. So we will check like what it's came. So for checking in the console we will be using console.log, and just write pm on the postman object dot response dot json. So like this, save this and send. So 8 out of 8 all are passed. If you go to console, so you will see the same text that we got here, like code 200, here code 200. If you expand this, let me explain to you. So code 200, type is unknown here, and message is okay, the same response body we got it. So if we want to check in the console, we will be using console.log and the response.json on the PM object. Now, what we have done, let's say I want to set the environment variable so that we can use in the get request here, username. So how we will set here? Let me choose set an environment variable. So if you want to set environment variable, then select this one, select an environment variable, and what you want to set. Let's say I want user name, username I want to set. And what username? So in username you can see that body we are setting prince1203. Copy this, and in scripts come here and paste it here. Save this. Right now in the QA environment user, because we are using the QA environment user, so there is no any variable related with username. But when we click on this, we have already saved, and click on this send button. So you will get, so it's came username prince1203. So what we did here, like on the postman object environment, so environment indicates this environment, and we are setting username and the associated value of this. So environment variable is updated with prince1203. Now if we want to use this environment variable, then how we will be using this? So go to get request. In the username, I don't want this one, so just use username, and when you over on the cursor, prince1203 is already being displayed. Now save this here, save your done. Now send the request. So you see that the ID username prince1203 that we already set in the post request, first name Prince, last name Kumar, and all the respective fields values. Now if we want to update, so let me choose this one. So here it is the same. So if you want to update, you know how to do it. So username, let's say we want to update this field prince1203. So this was my earlier username, and right now we are concatenating Kumar into this. Now save and send the request. So 200, okay. In the same way we have to just use the snippets. So let me talk you about what we have used. So environment variable we have already see. Now if we want to get the environment variable, then how, then what we'll be using? So let's say click on this, on the variable key username, control C and control V username, and in that if we want to check in console, then we will be using console.log of here. get. Now send the request. So in console you will be seeing prince1203. In the same way we can use the snippets. So we have already seen this get an environment variable, get a global variable. So it is the same as like environment variable. So it is the same. Now set, we have already seen how to set an environment variable. Now if we want to clear an environment variable, so let me, in the delete operation, so let's say if everything is done and in the delete operation we want to just delete the variable name, so how we will be doing. So clear an environment variable, click on this. Now here I will be using uh, user username, just write it, save and send. So earlier username was there. Now when we will be checking QA environment, now username is not listed here. So in that way we can use snippets. So we have already seen status code is 200, contains a string, JSON value check, response body is equal to a string, response header we already seen, content type header check, and for content type key and value, response time is less than 200 milliseconds. We have already seen that. The status code successfully post request, code name has a string. So already all snippets we have already seen. I will share this doc to everyone. So in that we have listed so many examples related with validations. I will be sharing this doc.